How's it going? Yeah, it's been a while since I actually did one of these, isn't it? Been more than a month that I disappeared and said nothing at all, just in general. As you can see, there's a bed over there. Vaporeon's here, and you can't see it right now, but the entire place is thrown into pretty much 1,000 different pieces. I'm moving, and never once did I ever say anything or do anything because it's been a very hectic month. In fact, I'm still in the process of moving, and I have another month before I move. So all of this isn't really going to be here much longer at all. I do apologize for being gone. By the way, Thursday it's Gear Talk time because that's what I say every single week, pretty much. Yeah, I'm extremely sorry I've been gone so long. I've been wanting to touch on things. I've been wanting to talk about Gears 5 because I've been leading into it so much, but I haven't had the opportunity to actually sit down and play it that much until a couple weeks ago. I actually played it and beat it. And I didn't really want to come out and talk about it until I actually finished it. I got everything down for the story. I got everything down for a completionist run. So I got every bit of lore and story I could so I can start making videos in the future. Also, I didn't really want to talk about it when I didn't fully know the ending, even though I knew the ending decision like day 2 things were out because I had to know how things ended. And we're going to touch on that. I'm not a fan of what happens towards the end of the game, and I'll get to that soon. Yeah, this video is very spoiler heavy. It's going to talk a lot about what happened in the game, what happens towards the ending, what happens with the characters. So for anyone who doesn't want to get involved with any of that, people who are still playing it, people who haven't touched it yet, people who want my ideas on Gears 5, this is probably going to be my thoughts on Gears 5 V2 or version 2. I'll probably recycle a thumbnail and change things up in it. That's probably going to be what's going to happen for this video, since this is my return to Gear Talk, you could say. So anyone who doesn't want to be spoiled, I suggest in a few moments you just leave, because we're going to start talking about my thoughts about Gears 5. This is going to be pretty much a one and done for me. That's how I do my thoughts videos, and I also don't have a lot of time this week. So yeah, I'll give you a moment before we start talking about Gears 5. You good? Okay, we're good. Okay, let's start talking. Let's start talking about what I think of Gears 5. It's not the greatest ever made. I'll start with that. Gears 5 is not the greatest Gears of War game ever made. It's not. I would say it's probably my third favorite. I'd have to say 2 and 3 still beat it. I think it's better than the first Gears of War. I think it's better than 4. It's better than Judgment as far as I can tell you right now. And I guess I'll consider Pop in this too. I think it's better than Pop. I think it's the third best. I think for what the Coalition's currently done, for what they've had their hands in, this is the best one they've done. I won't argue that. This is the best Gears they've done, but it's not the best at all. A lot of good things about it. They tried open world for the first time. It felt good. They did it well. It's definitely a wide world to go around. It's not like a very narrow path. The only downside is it is a bit empty. There is a lot of collectibles and components you can go around and find. Jack plays a larger role in this game. The components are for upgrading him. You can make Jack, upgrade him how you want. If you're playing a completionist run, you will find the components for Jack and fully upgrade him. It's amazing. Jack is a great character in this game. He's probably one of my favorite characters done in this game. It's just that how they executed the open world aspect isn't the greatest. There's been so many other games that have beaten it for open world. Not a lot of side quests. Yes, there are side quests in Gears now. I'm not even kidding you on that one. They could have done a lot more with that. They didn't. The characters were done pretty well in this one. I would say the weakest one is surprisingly probably Dell again. Because even though Dell has a lot more character, he's around a lot more, he speaks a lot more, he has a lot more interaction with people. You get to learn about Settlement 2 and why he left the COG and JD followed him. You don't really get anything more from him at all. It's he's just there pretty much. He's just player 2. That's just what he's there for. You know, like he cares for Jack. He was against the Settlement 2 stuff. That's all I can really say about Dell. He's probably the least developed again, but he was developed more. It's hard to say. It's like, think of it kind of like you have someone who's just a fresh new character like Foz, and then you have someone who should have been more developed like Dell in the first game. Foz is developed more than Del was in the first and second ones, the Coalition did for Gears 4 and 5. Foz is a lot more better done. Foz is actually decent. His character progression is kind of like Baird's from the original trilogy. It's really good, actually. Foz was good. I enjoyed Foz towards the end of the game. The beginning, I could have cared less if he died. Speaking of that, characters do die in this one, and I already gave people a time to leave, so I'm going to name them off right now. We do get a new Carmine, Lizzie. She's dead. She'll die the first act you deal with her. She's gone. She's a Carmine, so what did you expect? You also have Oscar coming back, and my theory was right on that one. Oscar died. He was the character in the trailer. He's dead. Everyone knew that one. You also have the funnest part of the entire game is towards the end, you have to make a decision between who dies. You decide who dies at the end of the game between JD and Del, and they're dead. They're not coming back. They are fully dead in the game. You do not get them back at all. People are mourning. Marcus is mourning. Everyone's mourning. They're dead. I have no clue what they're going to do for 6. That's a video all on its own. And yeah, they're just completely dead. Nothing else. They're dead. That's all I can say. They're just straight up dead. Neck gets snapped. They're gone. So if you enjoy Del for the little character he had, he's gone. He's dead. He's not coming back. If you enjoy JD and the character development he majorly had in this one, where we still don't know a lot of the situation involving his arm, a lot of things that happen within the 4-month skip they have in the game, he's dead, he's gone, he ain't coming back. So make your decision well, because whoever dies is gone. What else? The theories I made up throughout the entire time we were getting to this, a lot of them came true, a lot of them were 50-50, and a decent amount were wrong. First off, the 50-50 ones, the Locusts are back. I mean, like, in a weird way, they are and aren't. Well, they were back, but then they probably all got killed off by Kate. So I was right that they were still around, technically. Other than that, what else? The DB theory, that was thrown right out of the water. That was wrong. They're just corrupted now. There's no hive mind or anything. Unfortunately, the Niall stuff was wrong. He did come back, but only as an AI and strictly as an AI. He didn't join the hive mind or anything. Niles is gone. Well, now he is. He came back. He got thrown out again, pretty much as a garbage can by a matriarch, which that's a whole other thing. And now the Niles theory was out and not really coming back. What else? I wrote things down here pretty much. If you know me well enough, I normally write down notes for these, and this is a one and done recording, so I kind of need them for this one. What else? The hammer did come back, so I was kind of right about that one. The hammer did return. If you read the books, you knew that one. There was no real fourth faction that was introduced. The Hive Busters don't really count because they're part of the COG and they're doing their own thing. So I was wrong on that one, what there might be. Mira being human. Technically she is human, but she ends up more as an augmented human later on. She's really resistant to emulsion, all that good stuff. She's resistant to aging. So she was around over 100 years ago during the Pendulum War. She was around, and she's currently around right now the age she is because she can resist aging. So she is human, just a very rare type of human. That's another video, again, I have to make for that one. What else? The open world one, I was right on that one. They did have open world. The Diaz family, I never claimed that Kate was related to Mira because we never knew what could come up. She is related. I'm not going to take credit and say, oh yeah, they were related. So that's another thing. They are related, but I claim technically they could possibly not be. So I'm not going to put a W on for me. We also have, what else was I wrong about? Reyna knowing. So Reyna somewhat supposedly knew about the Locust stuff and that she was related to Mira. She somewhat knew that. She never knew anything about the Swarm coming up. She never knew anything about her being the next queen. She never knew any of that. So the whole Reyna knowing about the Swarm coming, she had no clue. That was nothing to do with Reyna. I already talked about Niles. The next Swarm leader I was wrong about. I never guessed Reyna was going to come back. When she died, I thought she was done and dead. I did not think Reyna was coming back, but Reyna is back. She is the leader of the Queen. She's not the same Reyna. It's probably like Mira or something psychologically pulling the strings, because later on in the game, you do learn that Mira somehow, some way is like maybe sort of alive through the hive mind. So maybe she's using Reyna's body. Reyna is back as the leader. She's tentacled up and everything. So for anyone out there who knows this reference, if you're a hentai man, you know what's coming with that one. The Riftworm, no one has any clue about that one. The Kraken was introduced. I think he could be a Riftworm, but no one knows. I mean, that's really it. I'm just trying to like go through these right now for the theories. What else? Open world I talked about. The story was well done. For the first time in a Gears game, we only had 4 acts, but everything was very long. So it wasn't like the 5th act was really needed. That got rid of for a 4-act structure, and it worked out pretty well. The only thing I would say that felt odd is the game was long, but it was really fast paced. Like every single act, something was happening, and by the end of that act, it was resolved. The Matriarch, which is like the most badass of all the Berserkers, the first Berserker ever. She got wiped out in the act she was introduced in. She didn't carry over or anything. She was just done. The Kraken. He was in 2 acts, but his main thing where he was introduced, he got pretty much just destroyed by a spaceship that was setting off, and he was gone. Reyna was introduced in the last act. That's it. She wasn't introduced in any other acts. You also had pretty much this build-up for the Warden throughout the trailers, who was introduced in the first act we get. He comes up more than once, and it's an actual race of Swarm. It's not just like they're one person. He got off pretty quick when we meet him. I mean, I was expecting a lot more at the Warden. It was just a really fast-paced game going through. And then when you finally get to the end of the game, they set up for 6, which seems like it's going to be good. But again, you have a choice at the end for the characters. You've got to wonder about the open world stuff going forward. They're going after Reyna now. You know, you have all of this stuff going on, and I don't really know what 6 is going to be like. 6 isn't happening for a long time. We still have Gears Tactics we got to get to before we get to straight up Gears 6. Also, I'm not going to touch on it here because that's a video for another day. The microtransaction issue involving the Coalition, the EA situation they call it. I'm not going to touch that. There's no reason to touch it. That is a multiplayer thing. I'm just talking about Gears 5 stories in general. I could make a video on that one, but I feel like how things are going with that, it could be resolved sometime soon. Rod Ferguson did come out and address the issue, so I feel like they are looking into that and trying to figure out a better way. So, yeah, that's just my really quick wrap-up of what I thought of Gears 5, my thoughts on it. It was good. If I had to say how I felt about the story, it was a very good story. Kate was done better than she was in 4. I preferred Kate most of the time in this one. There were definitely some times where it was still Kate, still bitching and moaning, still trying to be the hardcore badass when she really isn't. It felt like it moved pretty well. I enjoyed that Carmine came back, the one that lived. I enjoyed that Clayton was back. Paddock was introduced back as a badass. I enjoyed getting a lot more backstory for him. There's a lot of lore to cover with Paddock. 2 of my favorite characters of all time are alive. Still no word on Dizzy, still. Yeah, I thought it was a really good game. I thought it was really good. It's just there were a lot of issues that were there. And the DLC that comes out in the future, which they stated there could be, I would like to have more story DLC. I mean, maybe another open world map kind of to explore, like the 5th act, you could call it, and it's just like all DLC, like what they did with Shadow of Rom. That was pretty much 1 act, but it was done as its own DLC following Zeta Squad. I guess I'll say this one too, mentioning Zeta Squad. There's an amazing Easter egg in the game. If you get all the collectibles leading up to it for all the characters that have died or mementos from them, and you put it up near a memorial wall in the last act, you'll place out all their items. You'll salute the wall when you have everything there, and they'll appear as ghosts in front of the wall. And everyone who ever died in Gears that we know of is named on that wall. I saw Loomis up there. I saw Valera's brother was up on there. I believe the Rojas's were also up there. Everyone that ever died or their bodies were never recovered are on that wall. And everyone's name is there. You have all the Carmines are named there. Will Carmine is on there, which I thought was amazing. Yeah, that was like my favorite part of the entire game. I took a picture of every single thing as a screenshot just so I could look at all the names. And I mean, like, they acknowledge Judgment quite a bit in the game. They acknowledge, like, the DLC involving Zeta. Everyone on Zeta is a ghost on that wall. I thought it was amazing. Yeah, like I said, this is a really quick video, really fast-paced, just like the game pretty much. Yeah, I mean, this is me coming back to Gear Talks. It's been a year. It's October now. This is when I started them, so I figured I I need to come back sooner or later. I want to thank you guys for watching. Gear Talks have really taken off since Gears 5 came out. One of my videos now, the Locust versus Swarm video, is now the #1 video on this channel. I thank you guys a lot for that one. That really means a lot. I will be making a second round of that video. There definitely needs to be a second round now after the things we got, especially with the Matriarch being introduced. Yeah, like, follow, subscribe. Twitter, make sure you go over there. I think that's all we have right now. Patreon's a thing now. I think I've mentioned that in a past one, or I'm mentioning it here for the first time. So Patreon's out and going about. We also have Etsy. That's where we have the store right now for BCast Gaming Shop, I believe I have it named. Everything's in the description down below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy whatever's going to happen the next month with the move. I will have more videos coming out, a lot more Gears 5 centered before we get to anything else Gears related. You guys have a great one. See you next time.